Well, folks, Rudy Giuliani now admits that he did the massive dumps. The jokes write themselves at this point in time. Like, how can I add anything? And I'll be completely upfront. This is just comedic insanity, period. There is no credibility to Rudy Giuliani at this point. There is no, I mean, the guy is as backwards as anybody we've seen affiliated with American politics in the last many years. Rudy Giuliani went on Newsmax and he told Eric Balling he did the big dump. And for those of you who have been following this entire massive dumps storyline for the last couple of years, this will be particularly odd. Check this out.
So here they're saying things like there's going to be a big dump, and there was a big dump. I put out the big dump to the New York Post.
Oh, guys, I can't do it any longer. I just can't do it. If you if they wanted to joke about the whole dumps thing, and at SNL's writing room, someone came up with this fake Giuliani saying this, they would be looked at like, what are you, 10 years old? What are you talking about? A dump? What do you mean? It doesn't make any sense. Nobody would believe that now Rudy's also going to go out and talk about a big dump. And then here it is. Now, as a reminder, this all goes back to this infamous historic moment in American political history.
And what happened, if you watched the election, I was called by the biggest people saying, congratulations, political people. Congratulations, sir, you just won the election. It was 10 o'clock and you looked at the numbers, and I'm sure you felt that way. This election was over. And then they did dumps.
Right.
They call them dumps, big, massive dumps in Michigan and Pennsylvania.
And Maria Bartiromo's eyeglass adjustment right when Trump says massive dumps is still just, I mean, absolutely perfect. So what is this all about? I know many of you are going to be shocked by this. All of this stuff that Rudy's saying, the dumps and everything, the context is the Hunter Biden laptop story. I know it's unbelievable, but they're still talking about Hunter Biden's laptop. So here is a little more of the Rudy interview. It's actually interesting to, in the middle of unprecedented legal problems for Donald Trump, they're talking about the Hunter Biden laptop.
Mr. Mayor, since when does the FBI tell a private company like Facebook what to publish and what not to publish? I mean, any question?
When do they tell a private company about national security information?
That's a good point. Wow.
I mean, when did they do that?
That's a very, very good point.
Right.
National security, whether or not there's a Russian.
That happens to be about the time that I was communicating with John Mac Isaacs, and the FBI had seized a year earlier my iCloud account. So here they're saying things like there's going to be a big dump, and there was a big dump.
Yeah.
I put out the big dump to the New York Post.
Right.
But that was a 3-week period in which I was communicating with Bob Costello and John Mac Isaacs. We were going back and forth.
Imagine trying to follow this.
And we were doing our own due diligence to make sure that what he had was legitimate.
Yeah.
And then there was a big dump, and he censored it. And you know what that indicates? The government was part of that.
Yeah.
That makes all this First Amendment stuff very different. One of the ways they get out of the First Amendment is they say these are private companies. But the minute the government's conspiring like that, it's the government violating First Amendment rights.
Amazing. Amazing. The FBI reaches out to Zuckerberg, and Facebook goes ahead and throttles back the story. Twitter went even further and just completely pulled the story.
You know,
listen,
actually,
it's scary.
Miranda Devine called me before and corrected that.
Oh.
She said that Facebook was the first. Twitter followed Facebook.
Yeah, but Twitter, my point was
lying about that.
Twitter went a little bit further. Mr. Mayor, always good having you on. We'll talk to you.
All right. So they're not really understanding each other. But what's clear is that Rudy was the source of the dump. And I mean, this is American politics at this point in time. Meanwhile, I mean, listen, I have to tell you, folks, I'm glad to say that while the second half of the show has been me catching you up on Rudy's dumping and Trump's lying on a show no one's heard of hosted by Lou Dobbs. And it's almost sad, like they're in the toilet, for lack of a better term. it's great that the first half of the show was, look at Joe Biden's achievement on judges. Look at how the approval rating of Biden is reacting to material, substantive, significant accomplishments, including student loan debt relief, and the jobs report, the Inflation Reduction Act, the PACT Act, and on and on and on. It's nice that we have some sanity again, and that we have an approval rating, at least within some range, responding to the actions of the president. And it's because, I mean, they're in the toilet on the right, guys. They're in the toilet on the right. And if you think Rudy's massive dumps are disgusting, look at what I'm going to talk to you about next.